All right, we're back in recording, and this is going to be a question panel with questions after watching or doing one of these slide presentations. Kristen.
All right. So does anybody have any questions after looking at hearing the presentation and being a part of the presentation? Does anybody have any questions? Is there anything that's not clear? Does anybody want to put out there how they want to use this in their community?
Kristen, this is PJ. I have a question. First, I want to acknowledge and compliment the work y'all have done on this presentation. It's much easier to make a presentation with 18,000 lines on it and 4 million words than it is to make it succinct, appealing. I mean, I even noticed the background changes and all that, the color changes and the transitions and all of that I thought was just expertly done. So I first want to say that. And my question, also, I could tell when you warmed up and you were feeling it when you got all in it. And that was also good because your comments are valuable. It's a little bit more than just the words on the slides. It's the way you put yourself into it when you got into it with the examples and so forth. That was also great. One of the things you mentioned was forming partnerships with community organizations before you need to access this resource. So I would just like to ask some tips for making yourself known to these people. In other words, if you don't know these people already, how do you get their attention? How do you get them to buy into this idea? How do you engage them so that they will turn to you as a resource when it's time?
So Alpha and Ganella, you can talk about that. You guys have vast experience in that.
Yeah, I mean, how you get people to buy into it. I would say that, just like Christine was saying during the presentation, is that, I mean, we always go through somebody or some organization, like with the Red Cross that Christine worked so much with, and other, people are already reaching out. So for us, we never just come to a place without knowing anybody. It's always on an invitation or some kind of connection or some, So and that makes it very easy because somebody already trusts you because you have connection and perhaps you talked before or perhaps you presented what you did or, you can do like this or like that, and in that place we did like that. So I would say that that's always the way we work. We always have connections, either a friend or an organization, but always somebody, It's like we say, we always make friends. That's the basis of our work. It's friends that you talk to, discuss, or what do you say, Christine? I mean, it's the same with you. I mean, you like connections. Mm.
Connections. That's and yeah, I do. I talk to everybody. I give an experience to every place that I show up. Yeah. I give an experience. I don't know. I've been to, like, I go to the Rotaries. I know the churches. I'm a part of the Community Wellness Committee. I know the fire chief for CAL FIRE and National Fire and Reading Fire. And I talk, I show up.
But this is Lori. But I think PJ is asking like, how do you make that initial introduction, say, to the fire chief or to something? She was asking for some tips. Am I right, PJ?
Yeah, and I can only say it depends on who you are, where you are. I couldn't say, how do we make connections? That's a very interesting question, actually. And some people always ask me, how do you know these people? But it is like, I would say you start with something. Perhaps you belong to a church, or you belong somewhere yourself, or your husband or your daughter or yourself is part of the Red Cross, and then you go for a coffee, or you go to the library, you meet somebody, you tell what you're doing. So I can only say there are a 7.5 billion ways of making friends, because 7.5 billion people will be all different depending on who you are. So that's, yeah, so that is a question, and I can only say for me it depends. And when you are people like yourself, you know, engaged and wanting to be part of this humanitarian committee, means that you're interested in reaching out. So I'm sure that you all build contacts, connections everywhere. Is that the, PJ, is that an answer to your question? PJ?
I could add to that, PJ, before you answer. Basically, what both Kristen and Gunilla are saying, which is kind of the point here, is once a catastrophe has happened, people are stressed out. They're not ready to start talking to a stranger they've never met before, who is presenting a technique they never heard of, and who they don't know if they fit in there. So, I mean, the whole trick is to befriend these people and actually not getting to know them, to befriend them by turning up and just having coffee before stuff happens. So, you know, turn up, you say, have a cup of coffee. It's not like I'm here to help you. It's like, how are you doing? What's going on? Okay. Second time you arrive, maybe you say, you know what? I might be able to, you know, show you something that could be of help here, because I've got these techniques. And that way of easing into it is, I think, probably a zillion times easier than showing up trying to convince somebody when they're stressed.
Amy, you have something to say too?
Yeah, for Kristen and I, you know, what is your community? For us, it was veterans in Las Vegas. And so we would go to those meetings where they would be hanging out, and you want to find those gatekeepers to those different communities. And you go and you show interest and you listen to them. You don't come in and tell them what they need. You listen to them, you learn their language, you learn the gatekeepers. And so we had, you know, we done that for 3 years, and then we had the shooting. So we had the shooting, and then I knew all these people in these communities, and I would help them to help their communities. It's 2 years later now, and I believe we're just now really ready to really go into the community and do even deeper work, because people have been so shell-shocked. So it's never too early, it's never too late, but it's just like, who are the people that I go through? How do I come from a centered place, like Kristen said, and how do I meet their needs, not my needs?
That's good, PJ.
Are you good?
You too, Laura?
I just wanted to give a heads up to the brochures and what an amazing tool they are to have in your car, have in your purse, have with you at all times. Make sure you put a little label on there with your contact information so people can get to you. But I have passed them out anywhere and everywhere and had people call me and ask in a time of distress or refer someone else to me as a result of the brochures, because then that gives them something very concrete to look at, to understand what it is you're offering, and then to contact you when they need you.
And like Kristen had said, when I never give a pamphlet without giving an experience, because then it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah, very good.
So I just wanted to mention I'm in Canada, and most of our communities have emergency services teams. So the route that I took a number of years ago to try and offer my services was through the emergency services teams. But it says you do have to get to know people. So I actually joined the team, and it wasn't until I got onto the second team in another community that I was invited to teach the team how to do some tapping just to calm themselves. So I'm pretty sure you must have those kind of teams in your communities as well, but it wasn't an easy road.
No, I think that's true. It also requires a lot of persistence, or what is it, tenacity was the word I got with me when I was with Karen in Vancouver, one of the guys from one of the First Nation community. Tenacity. Yeah.
And exactly, and it's tenacity. It's like with the First Nations community.
Yeah.
I show up over and over and over and over. With the first responders, you know, I show up over and over and over. And, you know, I dance with the First Nations. I talk right-wing politics with the first responders.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? that's what it is you're there. And once you're there, they start to see who you are. And you don't have to do it with all the communities. It can just be your tiny little community. It can be your church. It can be the domestic abuse shelter in your area. It can be your meditation group. It can be, it doesn't have to be like this big thing.
Show up, smile,
Those are your friends.
Yeah.
Hi, can I add something? I'm in the United States. Hi, I'm Robin. So there's a couple ways here to do that. One is the critical incident stress management team, and they're looking for both therapists and what they call peers. And so you don't actually have to be licensed, and they're the ones that get activated. They're the ones that get called. In additionally, I've been called out through an organization that's called Give an Hour. It is an organization that works specifically with veterans and first responders. And so between those two organizations, Critical Incident Stress Management and Give an Hour, that's been a way that I've been activated.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful experiences and wisdom about this. Please put those groups. What did you mean, PJ? Please put those groups in this chat.
The ones that Robin was mentioning?
That you were mentioning. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so that Robin was mentioning. Yeah. Could you write it, Robin, in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Good.
Very good. Yeah,
so that's, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Any other thoughts on, I mean, I think this was for me, this was a brilliant presentation of the slides, how to use them. Because if I've never seen them before, and if I'm new to this, I understand that I have to go and learn the techniques separately. It's not a training video to learn techniques or how to show them. It's a training video to understand that these slides are a backbone that I can use. I can take some of them away. I can choose to show only the techniques I'm comfortable with. The only thing is that I try to take care not to explain stuff I don't know. So I explain what I feel comfortable with, what I feel sure with, and I can always relate to all the good stuff that you mentioned, because I think that's a powerful asset. Because somebody might be watching this and saying, I don't have Kristen Miller's experience. I haven't done all that yet. I would love to start it, but how can I present this if I don't have her experience? Well, then if you're watching this, you can say, and like Kristen Miller, my colleague in the ACEP Humanitarian Committee, when she was in the fires, when she presents these slides, she usually says this and that. So you can quote Kristen, and that will be perfectly fine, and her experience will be in there. That's just an idea, a way of accumulating our collective experience and spreading it, regardless of where we are, because you can always start.
Absolutely. And that's the point. You can always start. And the start might be that you're going to tap on your cat. The start might be that you're going to go over and bring a cup of tea to your neighbor. That's the start. But if we don't start, nothing happens.
Yeah,
and I mean, that's it. We just start.
Yeah,
and we start with what we have. Say it again.
And I say, don't count numbers. How many people show up, as
Not
we
at all.
say. When I had the training with Ulf, I mean, he was one. And we have done quite a lot of work since then. All the others didn't come. So we always get back to that. So we never count numbers. So don't think that you should have a lot of people, because, yeah, you have to find a key person, or you call it the gatekeeper, Amy. I mean, somebody who is there who can introduce it to others. Yeah. Yeah, never ever give up. Yeah, that's true, from Amy. One is enough. Yeah, definitely.
Lorna?
This is Lorna. I got introduced to someone who works in substance abuse, and she does networking. And so she started inviting me, because I said I do emotional first aid, and because I'm thinking with substance abuse counselors, they really need this. And so now I've been invited to present to at least 2 of the group meetings, the 2 different meetings, and I'm seeing how I can use the slides, take the slides out that are appropriate for me and do that. And, and then that also gives us a venue to say, okay, you just have an introduction to these tools. If you want to know more and you want to go deeper, it gives us the opportunity to train in those of us that are qualified to do that. The other thing to consider might be, for I don't know who's going to see this, and if they're going to say, well, gee, I'd really like to know, some of these and the rationale, to emphasize that they can go to the resources for resilience. The techniques are up there, and there's a lot. I mean, I think it stopped there. I haven't looked in a while, but Kristen did a tremendous job of explaining what it does, what each of the, in the written part about what each of these things do and when to use them. And so I think it needs to be emphasized that before you use this, unless you are highly trained in these areas, to go through and really learn those techniques that are up there. And that gives, a great resource.
And it's wonderful. You could just have an afternoon with yourself, and you could hug yourself, and you could breathe, and you could do trauma tapping, and you could do simple havening, and then you can choose what works for you and what will work for the community that you are in front of. We want to have as much flexibility as we possibly can, because many times there isn't going to be time for a whole EFT protocol. Right. But if you know and you go through and have this afternoon with yourself and you figure out, you're going to know which techniques you're going to share in what setting. And that's super important.
Yep.
And it's like Christian said, you drop these little pebbles, different places, with a brochure, with, an experience. And, I just got a call from the Veterans Women Health, and I've gone before and used the brochure and all. And they're like, when is Lorna coming back? When is she going to share more of these things with us? And so, it's just a pebble at a time.
Yeah. I've also shared that Gunilla and I are doing an experiment both in Uganda and in Sierra Leone using radio to get the message out. So we have people recording radio shows where they actually instruct the listeners. They tell the listeners about how stress and trauma works, and they explain how to use the technique. And then the callers, they can call in and they can ask questions and discuss stuff. And so that's another way of reaching out that's possible.
And it's been a interesting experience to be a part of that, because their connection doesn't work and we get thrown off. But it's been a wonderful thing too, because think about how many people we could reach if you could be on your local radio station and share techniques verbally. It's an amazing outreach. It's something I never would have thought about had I not been included in this project. So it's a wonderful way to bring resources.
Kristen Miller is a known stress expert in Sierra Leone, talking straight to the people there, and that's quite amazing. And we can really do this. We can connect resources from many different places and broadcast them out. And you're going to be joining tonight, aren't you, Kristen?
Yes. Yes, we will be on the radio tonight.
Wonderful.
Do you guys have local hospital radio?
Because sometimes the connection doesn't work. Sorry, go ahead.
Just
say that again, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Do you have local hospital radio?
Local hospital radio, what is that?
We do.
Yeah, it's people who run a radio station in various hospitals. I don't know too much about it, but it's a volunteer network, and I believe they record and people can listen in.
Oh, that sounds good.
So that's great. We don't in Reading have that, but we have 2 local radio stations. And I know that all of you, I know Amy does podcasts all the time. Amy put in about having a pizza party with veterans on the chat. thousands of ways that you can develop a friendship network and figure out how to share this.
Yep. So to wrap this part up, because is there anything else with the actual slides or thoughts about presenting them or not presenting them or getting them in, or content or learning how to do it? Anything else about that?
Did you want to say anything about the supplementary slides?
The supplementary slides, after this recording, you will get a slide deck of the primary presentation and a slide deck of the supplemental slides. And the supplemental slides are explain some things more fully. They explain sort of heart field consciousness, and there's about 12 slides of different techniques that are not included in the primary presentation. And so you'll all get both slide decks. And what you can do is pull in from one slide deck to the other and take out. When I give this in the community, sometimes I get a 9-minute presentation.
Right.
You know what I mean? You've got 9 minutes. And so I dump everything out and share 2 or 3 slides. Okay. Sometimes I do a 2-hour presentation, and then I may add in more techniques. Sometimes I'm with first responders who don't like anything that's verbal, and they want quick single point breathing and tapping to points. And so I'll show some of the slides with single point tapping techniques on them. So that's what the supplemental, Amy, thanks for bringing that up. That's what the supplemental slide deck is about. It's a way that we have made into slides techniques and further explanations.
Wonderful.
Can I just say something? Would it be
Yes,
helpful,
Sarah.
do you think, to just very quickly explain about the TTT techniques? Because if people want to get a very quick, simple qualification without the words that are required, it might be that you have that on this recording just to say what the base level of it is.
So I don't know, how would they access your certification program, Ulf and Gunilla?
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we will also plan another, somebody was asking if we would do another training session, and we will do it. It was quite some time ago since we did one webinar about it. And then at the same time, people can learn by themselves by watching all the videos that we already have on the website of peacefulheart.sc and also, as well as selfhelpfortrauma.org. And we have an online training for basic TTT also that is online all the time that anybody can access. And then the certification process is described on the website. And then Yvonne was asking, since she lives in the French part speaking of the world, about in French, and we also have the questions. It's not on the website, but just sending an email, it's also in French. So, I mean, it depends on what level and where and how much somebody wants to learn about TTT. I mean, it's enough to look at one of the self-help videos or the app that you're mentioning, the Self-Help for Trauma on Android and iPhone. You find it, you can just follow it and nothing can go wrong. So it depends on up to what level you want to learn it. Yeah.
Yeah. So just send us an email. I mean, if you want to get certified, send us an email from the website, peacefulheart.sc, and we'll lead you through it. It's simple.
And just to put in the last slide of the slide deck that we presented today, which you will get an email link to it today after this recording, has all of the certification programs in the websites, and the Peaceful Heart is the last one on the bottom, and you can find that out when you look at that website. Is that clear, Sarah?
Yeah, I was just wanting you to say it, that it's part of the recording for other people to listen in, not necessarily for me.
Very good.
Also for me, but for everybody else.
Okay, is that clear?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. Any other questions about anything in the deck or trainings or anything else?
I just want to say something to the group.
Yeah,
Okay.
but just stop.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I just wanted to echo PJ and others and thank Kristen and everyone for an excellent training and the PowerPoint. I just wanted to ask or mention that we, like when I do these trainings and when I do this work, I do this a lot with children. And so I want to make sure that we mention that this is also very, very effective for children. And it may be in some other parts that I haven't seen. So, but I did want to mention that. And that one of the things that I also do, in addition to the excellent recommendations for connecting, is in sessions with children, I have their parents also see me doing this work, and the parents are so wowed, and they want to know more about it, and they want to get trained as a result. And then, of course, what wasn't mentioned, and I know it's part of the school committee, is I do a lot of trainings in school districts where I have connections and train everyone there, and then also after critical incidences occur in the districts, because I'm a first responder on a team. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Very good.
So excellent job. Thank you all. This was spectacular. Now I'm going to the office to do it. I work on Sundays. So blessings to you all. Thank you so much. I have to go to work.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, cool. So we'll wrap up this recording now and just say thank you. So this, for the person watching this was a question panel that you can have your own panel after showing these slides in the presentation somewhere, or you can just look at this and get some inspiration, because there was a lot of good stuff going on here.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Chris.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.